Liquor Talk, another brand new episode where we stir the culture while sipping on some liquor, where we give you conversations that hit harder than the liquor. Liquor Talk, another conversation starts now. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Liquor Talk podcast. I'm your man Victor. Once again, it's the more you drink, the better we sound. Go tell a friend. Go pour up already because it's Liquor Talk time. And thank you for tuning in. If you tuned in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube, or wherever you're streaming this. And also shout out to our friends at Podmatch for bringing us today's guest, podcasting out of Atlanta, Georgia. He is Mr. Jeremy Nelson. He's the founder of marryingamerica.com. Jeremy, welcome to Liquor
Sure.
Talking. How you doing tonight?
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation. Thanks so much.
No problem, no problem. Without further ado, let's get into it. Why don't you tell us what is Marrying America?
Is a courting website. Okay. Because Victor, here we are in 2025, almost going into 2026. Okay. People will tell you that the dating pool is trash. It's nothing but pee and all kinds of nasty stuff in the dating pool. Marrying America is designed for people who still want to have a long term committed relationship. Everything else out there, you don't know if the people are on there to hook up. Are they looking for short term? Are they looking for something for here and now? Marrying America is designed, and everything that we've built into the site is designed to get serious people into serious relationships. That's what Marrying America is essentially.
Now, how do you determine who's serious about their dating pool, about their dating intentions? How do you determine that?
It's something that they have to profess. It's something they have to profess to each other that, look, I want a long term relationship. Because, Victor, here's the problem. A lot of these cats out here, okay, they are in relationships that are short term in nature and they are unfulfilling and they get burnt out on these short term relationships. They get tired of managing short term relationships that lead to nothing. And they then decide, something, I need something serious, I need something long term, because these part time gigs just aren't getting it done. So it's something they have to profess to each other, and then they have to show up and act like that's what they're looking for. They have to deliver, they have to do the things that convinces the other person that they're involved with, the guy or the girl, that, look, I am legitimately here looking for something serious. That's the only way you can really tell is by how somebody shows up. But yes, I mean, we're looking to get people who are tired of hopping from relationship to relationship, or recognizing that, look, I want something serious. Here is how and here is where we can make it happen.
That's real. That's real. How do you determine the people who is just tired? Is just people that just sign up for your website to say, "Hey, I'm just tired of the dating scene," or is there a vetting process that people have to go through?
No, there is no vetting process. It's individuals who have determined that they're tired of these hookups on Tinder. They're tired of the hinge matches. They're tired of the Bumble matches where, they want something long term. The person that they match with does not. I mean, they go through 3 or 4 dates, and it leaves them feeling empty at the end of it. On our website, from day one, from you match with somebody, you know that they are looking for something serious, they are looking for something long term, and presumably they are willing to put in the work to make that happen. So, you start off on a whole different mindset. Is I am looking for something serious. Let's work together to make that happen.
Of course, you got to work together and make things happen.
Oh, absolutely.
So what made you start this website? Let's take to back to the beginning. At what point were you wanting to start this website, and tell me how that story came about?
Well, it's actually, somewhat of an interesting story because originally this website, this whole concept was designed as marrying Black America. Okay, it was originally, conceptualized because I saw a real need in my community, where we just were not forming the level of relationships, um, that we needed to. So I thought I could bring something to the table to facilitate, forging and forming a lot more relationships in the Black American community. So it started out as marrying Black America. It has since morphed into marrying America. Um, and again, the mission remains the same. Is that, you see, Victor, historically, okay, throughout the history of mankind, relationships were formed because and sustained because we needed to do that in order to survive. Okay, relationships were literally about life and death. You needed that other person in order to survive, literally. Technology has evolved and allowed us to get to a point where we no longer need each other to survive. We need each other to have a better experience in life, but it's not a survival mode anymore. And that is why the dating is the way it is today. It's not that people have changed. It's not that men are different. It's not that women are different. What has changed is that we no longer need each other for survival. So therefore, we don't bring the same level of effort, the same level of willingness, the same level of desire, because survival is no longer a part of the game. So now you know that survival is no longer a part of the equation. We can be more laissez-faire about it. We can be more casual about it. We can take it, as more of a thing, as opposed to needing it for survival. And that is what I think is fundamentally different today than it was 150 years ago. If you wanted to have kids and to live to a ripe old age, you needed that significant other. It wasn't optional. You had to have it. So therefore, you are willing to put more effort, or you are willing to overlook some things that you otherwise, in this day and age, may not have overlooked. So that is what I think has fundamentally changed between then and now. It's not that we have changed as individuals, is that we no longer need each other as individuals. And what we're trying to do at Marrying America is to get people together who recognize that, okay, I don't need you to survive, but I need you to thrive and be happy and be contented in this lifetime. That's the demographic that we're going for.
Of course, of course, of course. Everything you said is that definitely makes sense. It makes sense of why people are out here complaining about the dating pools because we just say everybody done got lazy and they don't need each other. So,
Exactly.
at what point were you like? Because I know you said originally it was marrying Black America.
Yes,
At
sir.
what point did you decide to expand it to just marrying everybody in America, no matter their color or their race?
Well, what really initially prompted that departure is that a lot of these social media outlets, they frown upon you targeting or marketing specifically to a certain demographic. They make you go through a lot of hoops, a lot of hurdles, and it's a lot more challenging, to market to a certain demographic on social media. And that's when I decided that, okay, in this era of Black Lives Matter and so on and so forth, and Floyd George and all of these incidences, I decided, okay, let me make life easier for everybody and just make it all inclusive and just go with Marrying America. So no matter what demographic you are, no matter what nationality you are, if you're in Argentina, if you're in the Philippines, if you're in the Dominican Republic, if you're in Colombia, if you're in Scandinavia, if you want to forge a relationship with an American, be it male or female, then this is the place to try and get it done. So that's why we made the change, and just made it all inclusive, all encompassing. But but it's not really marrying America. It's more like marrying the entire world, if you will, because everybody is welcome to join.
Of course, of course, of course. So, at what moment did you realize that the dating world needed a serious overhaul? Was this recent, or was this even before you came up with the America concept? Because it's been needed an overhaul, but now the whole world can see it needs an overhaul.
No, for sure. And as a man who has been married for 40 years, okay, or 40 years next year,
Oh wow, 40
2026.
years!
Yes, yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes,
And
you to validate yourself. 40 years married. That is wonderful, man. When you got people from 40 years, we got people out here that's getting divorced left and right, and people are getting bored in their marriages. So I'm gonna come back to that, but continue talking to me about at what point did you need it did we need a dating overhaul?
all right. I think I've long recognized this, but I think it really hit home as I was going to, backyard barbecues and talking to, my peer group, people a little bit younger, and they were complaining, oh my gosh, I can't find anybody, I don't have anybody, and I want somebody. I said, wait a minute, okay, the Tinders of the world clearly aren't getting it done in terms of long-term sustainable relationships. Um, Hinge and Bumble and those apps, I mean, they work. Don't get me wrong, they work, but they are hit and miss because you have way too much incoming traffic. I mean, you'll have 40 match requests in your inbox on a Friday night. It's virtually impossible to sort through that level of volume. You overlook a lot of people who you otherwise should not overlook. So the sheer your ability to send out untold number of likes and match requests on these other apps, it tends to overwhelm people. It tends to give people a false sense of plenty. Okay. On Marrying America, what we do is we limit the number of match requests that you can send in any given month to five. Only five match requests per month can you send. Now you can receive unlimited number of match requests, but you can only send five. So each of these five people, if you choose to send five, but everybody that you send a match request to, they will know that it is very intentional. It wasn't because you were bored and had nothing to do on a Friday night or a Sunday morning. They will know it is very intentional that this individual who sent me this match request, they genuinely want to match with me. But we double down. For you to send a match request, you have to have a credit, and credits cost money. So you reserve a credit to send a match request. If the person you send a match request to, if they accept the match request, it costs them a credit. So both of you are equally invested in that match because it costs each of you money in the form of a credit to make that match. You see, on these other sites, you pay a monthly subscription of whatever it is, $49, $79, and you can send unlimited, match requests. You can receive and match with unlimited numbers of people, but they don't know. Did this person just match with me because I asked them to, or do they genuinely want to get to know me? So on Marrying America, we take that out of the equation. You get to send five. So if you receive a match request from me, you can be very assured that I am legitimately interested in you because I only get five and it's costing me money in terms of reserving a credit for me to send that match request. So that's where we try to make it far more intentional than it seems to be, because in this culture of casualness, in this hookup culture, in this culture of of very temporary relationships, it's hard to suss out why is somebody interested in me. Are they genuinely interested, or is it just because I'm here right now? We're trying to take that out of the equation and making it very intentional.
That's amazing. That's very interesting. So now it forces you to really be intentional about, whether I like this person or not, or because if you
Absolutely.
really like this person, you're gonna put up the credit.
Exactly.
Which brings me to another question I had listed, which is I did notice it's only 5 matches every 30 days. So
Right.
where did this strategy come from, and what's the intentions behind it?
Well, again, I mean, in this strategy, I was looking to make people way far more intentional in this environment than they have been. And, I'd been speaking to people, and they had indicated to me that, I mean, on these other apps, the Hinges and the Bumbles and so on and so forth, there was so much incoming traffic that it was very difficult to sort through. If you get, I don't know, 75 match requests on a Bumble or a Hinge, I mean, it's time consuming. It takes a lot of time to legitimately go through all 70 match requests that you receive. It's not really feasible for people who have a real life and other things they need to be doing. So they would be missing people who they otherwise, should not be missing. And I said, aha. I mean, they got overloaded. They got overloaded by just having too many incoming requests. Um, and I said, okay, that's a problem. When you have too many choices, you get overwhelmed, you get confused, you don't know what to do. And that's why we decided that, okay, on Marry America, you get to send 5 requests every 30 days. But the key to it is anybody who receives a match request, they are going to take that match request far more seriously. They're going to evaluate it far more carefully because they will know that this guy or this girl is committing financial resources to send me this match request, and they only get 5. So you're going to more carefully evaluate that potential match. I mean, so that's what we're trying to drive. We're trying to drive people to be very intentional. So, I mean, the very same person that you may get a match request from on Hinge and you overlook it, if you get a match request from them on Marrying America, you're going to be far more inclined to seriously evaluate, wow, could this person be, you know, a long-term partner? So that's what we're trying to drive: intentionality, and getting back to the days of, okay, let's be intentional doing
Yes, of course, that's where we should be going. That's the goal. We need to be intentional with the date and seeing that's how you improve it. Because if you're intentional, you know what it is, then you're not wasting time and you're not wasting resources. Ladies
it.
and
That's what
gentlemen,
you're looking for, right?
yes, yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Liquor Talk. The more you drink, the better we sound. Now, Mr. Jeremy, real quick, this is Thanksgiving.
Yes,
So,
sir.
what is your favorite thing to eat at Thanksgiving?
My favorite thing to eat at Thanksgiving is probably roast beef. I'm Jamaican, okay? I'm originally from Jamaica. So we didn't celebrate Thanksgiving as I was growing up. But as since I've been here in the United States for the last 50 years at this point, roast beef. I mean, we do eat turkey. I like my turkey smoked as opposed to oven roasted. But yeah, my favorite thing Thanksgiving would be sliced roast beef.
That's interesting. That's a definitely interesting take on Thanksgiving because we know that's the first time I've heard somebody say they're having roast beef at Thanksgiving. That's very very interesting. Now, what is your favorite thing about Thanksgiving? Do you like hanging with the family, or do you just like hang with friends, or is it watching American football? What's the one thing you love about Thanksgiving?
All of the above. I mean, the family aspect for sure, because that's a time of year, in the environment that we're living in now, where everybody is everywhere, and nobody lives around the corner anymore. It's a time of year where you get together with family, where you get together with loved ones. So you always look forward to that aspect of it, of seeing people that you haven't seen all year. Getting to socialize with family that you haven't seen, in many instances all year, because you're coming into town or they're coming into town. And of course, football is always a nice distraction as you're eating your turkey. The game is on in the background, and if it's interesting, then that's even better. But no, it's all about family. It's all about relationships, because at the end of the day, Victor, I mean, life is about relationships. Okay. And if you don't have quality relationships in your life, your quality of life is going to be materially impacted. So Thanksgiving is just a time of the year that just manifests that, just reinforces that you need to have quality relationships in your life in order to have a real high level quality of life. So that's what Thanksgiving means to me. It's to just reassure me and to reinforce that it's important to have healthy relationships that you can embrace and celebrate that time of year.
Now, of course, I definitely agree with all that. I definitely feel all of that. Once again, happy Thanksgiving to anybody listening to this.
Yes.
Enjoy your family, enjoy the fellowship, have the food, and yes, put the football on the background. Now, getting back to potential matches,
Yes, sir.
how soon should they bring a family around at Thanksgiving? What's the time limit that you're with somebody that that okay, I can bring you around them for Thanksgiving? Like, because I already know if it's like if we're only a month in, ain't no way in hell I'm bringing you around my family. So, is there a time limit around you should invite somebody to Thanksgiving dinner?
No, I think it's one of these deals when you know, because you're absolutely right. It can be 3 weeks, it can be 3 months, it can be 7 months. I think it's one of these innate things you just know when you know. If you listen to your gut, if you watch the signs that they're showing you, because everybody speaks about gut instinct, that my gut told me this and my spidey senses went off. That's crap. Okay, what matters is they give you signs. That is what you're seeing. Your subconscious mind is picking up on subtle signals that they're giving you, and you are attributing it to my gut feeling, my spidey senses. Like I said, all of that is nonsense. What it is that you're seeing certain traits, certain behaviors, certain actions that they are doing or not doing, that tells you, whoa, wait a minute, there's something good going on here, or there's something bad going on here. So, what I would tell people is to consciously evaluate the subtle signals that they are giving you, the subtle signs that you are seeing, but you may not be processing consciously. Pay attention to those, and that should dictate when you introduce them to family and friends. If the signs you're showing you subtle, that you think are your gut feelings. No, it's not. Like I said, it's people giving you signals, and you now have to decide: are those signals in my best interest, or are they not in my best interest? So I would tell anybody, there's no timeline per se. Read the signals that people are giving you, and use that as your basis for determining when it's appropriate to introduce them to friends and family.
Of course, of course. Now, what is your advice to single people that got to go to the family functions alone and have to deal with the family asking them when you gonna meet a girl or when you gonna meet a man? What's your advice there? Because single people get beat up a lot by family members when they come around and they don't have nobody on their arm.
Absolutely. My advice to them would be, or join Marrying America right now, because it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You have access to 100% of the features. You get your first 3 credits free. So if you have a profile on a different, website, a different app, move it, copy it to Marine America, because again, there is no cost to doing so. You have 100% access to 100% of the features. So that would be the first thing I would advise them to do. The second thing I would advise them to do is to tell their friends and have their friends tell their friends that, look, we are looking for somebody serious. There is this website that's trying to bring us all together so that you don't have to have that conversation next year. So when they go to Thanksgiving dinner and daddy asks them, geez, sweetheart, what are you gonna bring, that guy home for Thanksgiving? She can say, hey dad, I'm on Married America and I'm telling all my friends about it and I'm having them tell their friends about it. So hopefully next Thanksgiving he'll be here with me. But that's the only answer. Because the reality of it, Victor, is meeting people in the wild today. Does it happen? Yes. The odds of it happening, it may not be as bad as winning the lottery, but the odds of it happening are not good. Okay, because people just don't get out in the wild like they used to. People don't socialize like they used to. I mean, and I tell anybody, you know, you're more likely to meet somebody who has a friend that you could be interested in than meeting somebody who you are actually interested in. You know what I mean? But in order for them to introduce you to their friend, they have to get to know you. And that takes time, that takes effort, that takes opportunity. So that, the chances of meeting somebody in the wild, whether we like it or not, the days of meeting people in the wild, those days, if they're not dead, they're dying fast. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Does it happen? Yes. Are the odds in your favor? No, it's not. So whether we like it or not, I mean, Hinge and Bumble and all of these other apps, I mean, that's, and it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse. That's the saddest part. As bad as it is now, it's gonna get worse.
Of course, it's gonna get worse because you got the young kids today. They don't listen to nobody. They just too
No,
invested into their technology. They're just running
they
around
just
with
don't
the
socialize.
trends.
Exactly. They don't socialize. They don't social. I mean, they're inside gaming. They're inside. Doing social media. They're not outside socializing. You know what I mean? Back in my day, we'd be outside socializing, be it at the skating rink, be it at a bar game, be it at a barbecue. We'd be outside socializing. But everybody's inside nowadays. So only socializing you're doing is online. You know what I mean? The face-to-face interaction isn't happening like it used to. You know what I mean? So, unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, this is the last generation. If I look into my crystal ball, this is the last generation that's going to have access to legitimate traditional relationships. Because, I mean, 20 years from now, 20 years, 5 years from now, we're all going to be dealing with robots and artificial intelligence, because it's going to be easier. Why would I deal with you on all your crap when I can have a robot that does the exact same thing without giving me a hard time? I mean, you hear what people are saying, Victor. I mean, look, I mean, that people are hard to deal with. These people out here are trash. I mean, I went on a first date. This guy was garbage. If technology is going to evolve to the point where you can have that guy waiting for you at home. He's going to be AI. He's going to be a robot. But I mean, he's going to be 90% of me or of you and I. So that's a trade off. We're going to go with it. We're going to take it. Because, I mean, that's the unfortunate reality of it.
Understand that's the unfortunate reality of it, but I'm sorry. I just can never. I can't see myself trusting no robotic woman to be at home. I need somebody, that
Well,
can
see,
feel. It's like no, because no
I hear
robot. You can't do nothing. No robot.
I hear you, Victor. But you and I come from a generation where we are used to having these interactions. These kids coming up today, they are not used to having that level of human interaction. because they're inside on their devices, they're inside gaming. So they're not going to miss it. You and I would miss it because we know what it is to have had it. This upcoming generation, they, they can't miss it because they don't know what it is. They have, so you'll hear these young kids telling you today that it's hard to interact with their peer group because they lack conversational skills. They don't know how to talk to each other. So it's hard to miss something that you never had. So those of us who have had it, I agree with you 100%. We would miss it. But this generation and the one to come, they're not going to miss it because they won't know what it looks like. So it's hard to miss something that you've never had. If you follow what I'm saying here.
Of
So
course, of course. It's definitely gonna be hard to miss. But getting back to the America site, what
yeah,
is the reasoning behind the 7 days to decide rule on matches? So
very
you
simple.
okay?
Very simple. People by nature want to procrastinate. They want to think they have forever to make a decision. On our website, we want people to be very intentional. So if you get a match request, okay, you have 7 days to decide, do I want to match with this person or do I not? And if you choose to not match, that match request is rescinded after 7 days. It's to force people to not defer making a decision. It's to force people to actively look at somebody's profile and decide, do I want to invest a credit in matching with this person? And I don't have 4 weeks to do it. I have 7 days to do it. So, it's because this site is all about getting on and getting off. It's not about, lingering and hanging out. And no, 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 no. We want people to be very intentional. So if you got a match request, Victor, I mean, you would know. I need to carefully evaluate this lady over these next few days to decide whether or not I want to invest a credit in matching with her. So that's what drives that whole process, is that we want people to be very focused and not to think that, oh, I can get to this whenever. I can come back to this 2 weeks from now. Oh, I can dismiss this thing and forget about it. And no, you have 7 days to evaluate that person's profile and decide whether or not what you want to do next. And
Mm,
it also doesn't keep you in limbo. If you send a match request, you're not in limbo wondering, did she see it? Did she not like it? Did she this? Did she that? I mean, you'll know that she evaluated my request. She declined my request. Okay, fine, no problem. Move on to the next. Since you only get five per month, you know what I mean? So that's what that's what drives that, is to force people to be very intentional and to be very decisive in who they choose to match with.
that's real. That's real. Now, compared to the other apps who focus on keeping the user scrolling, why was it important for you to build something that encourages people to get the hell off the app once they find somebody?
Because again, the whole motive here is to forge relationships. Okay, and in order to forge relationships, you have to be very intentional. I mean, back in my day, you'd have to go pick the girl up at her house. You'd have to meet the parents. You'd have to take her to the movies. You'd have to take her back home. You'd have to, you'd have to be very intentional. Okay, and I think, like I said, that's what's missing in this culture. Nobody wants to be intentional anymore. We're living in an environment now where, I want it and I want it right now. I don't want to do a whole lot of heavy lifting. I don't want to do a whole lot of work to get to the destination I'm trying to get to. And what we're trying to forge here is for those who are willing to be intentional, is to give them a platform by which they can meet other people who are looking to be intentional. So Marrying America is not going to be for everybody. It's going to be for people who want a serious relationship and are willing to be intentional about it. And if that fits, something that you're looking for, then I say, hey, come on over, join, sign up, and let's see what happens. But that's what's missing in this country now. is that nobody wants to be as intentional as it used to be back in the day.
Yeah, of course, because back in the day, we knew when we had somebody, and they knew our intentions from jump. Nowadays, is people would just rather play games. It feels like people take their time for granted. That's what it really feels like. Is
There you go.
people take their time for granted, thinking they have forever, when in
Right.
reality they don't realize time is ticking.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly right. People think they have forever to get to something, and by the time they turn around, they realize, oops, I don't have forever. The clock is ticking, and how do I know make it happen? And that's where and that's where we find ourselves in the current. So no, I mean, I'm all about relationships. I mean, I'm all about people because again, one's quality of life is dictated by one's relationships. You know what I mean? It's no longer a matter of life and death, but the quality of life is absolutely, maybe more so now than ever, dictated by the quality of one's relationships. I personally believe, that a lot of the reasons why therapy has become the industry that it has become is because our relationships have become what they've become. We don't have them anymore. We don't have them anymore. I mean, back in the day, you had a nuclear family. You had grandpa down the street. You had uncles across the street. You had aunties 2 blocks away. I mean, so you had that family unit. Nowadays, grandpa lives in California. Uncle and auntie lives in New York. I mean, so and so lives, the siblings live in Chicago. Somebody else is in New Orleans. So you don't have those relationships as proximate to you as you used as as existed back in the day. I mean, and therefore people's mental state and happiness and need for therapy is going up because of these things. I mean, 40 years ago, you could run across the street to your uncle's house or your aunt's house and sit down with your aunt, and chop it up. You don't have that anymore. They were your therapists. They were your sounding board. Nowadays, we don't have that. Everybody's all over the world, all over the country. So, so I think there's a real impact that we're seeing in people because of this breakdown of relationships.
Of course,
In
of
my opinion.
course.
In my opinion. What do I?
And you have valid points. You definitely have valid points because it's not like it used to be where you got them right up the street where you can go to them and go have a drink if you need to.
Exactly.
Now we gotta have video chats, and some of them don't even
Exactly.
know how to video chat. So it's crazy. They don't even know how
Exactly.
technology.
And it's very different. A video chat is very different than sitting across a
Of course,
table from somebody. You know what I mean? It's very different. It's not the same thing.
it's not. It really isn't.
No, it isn't. I mean, it's a substitute, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, I
You know what I
mean,
mean?
yes, technology's nice and all, but I still
Absolutely.
would rather sit in somebody's house at a bar or at their house compared to us video chatting.
Absolutely. I mean, there was nothing better than, going over to grandma's house and she's baking an apple pie and you're sitting down near with grandma while, you're smelling the apple pie, wafting out of the oven. And I mean, and she's giving you some ice cream and she's asking you, hey, how was your day? How is life going? Blah, blah, blah. You can say, grandma, I mean, I fell down last week and I, hurt my knee. I mean, we used to have conversations like that.
We did. And also, and grandma will give you the quick home remedies for it. Oh, just do
Exactly.
that. Or if you're making
Eh,
something, use this seasoning to use that. But we just don't
Exactly.
have that no more. I feel bad for our generation. When they become grandparents, what they gonna pass down?
That's what it's, and therein lies a fundamental problem. I think these things are being manifested, in my opinion, by so many of us needing therapy because we don't have these family structures that we used to lean on. We don't have those anymore. So, instead of running to grandma or grandpa or uncle or auntie, we have to run to our therapist. So that I mean, all I'm trying to do is to facilitate an environment where for those who want it, we can start to try and rebuild, you know what I mean, or to achieve that result.
Of course.
So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's ultimately what this is all about, you know.
Of course, of course. So, how many people would you say is on the website right now? How many people would you say are people are active?
We're into the 5 digits. We're into the 5 digits of active subscribers. Of course, we're trying to get into the 7 digits, because we think that's ultimately the number of people who need, you know, to find relationships. But yes, we're aggressively, you know, getting the word out, making people aware. Advocating that they make their friends aware, of this platform that exists. Because again, at the end of the day, there's no cost involved, um, and it's low hanging fruit. In other words, it's low hanging fruit. There's no cost to get involved. You get your first 3 credits free. And why not? I mean, there is no downside. There's absolutely no downside. If you've been on a dating app, if you've been out in the looking for love, there's absolutely no downside to getting involved. So yeah, right now we are in the 5 figures. We're trying to get into the 7 figures.
So, is there any states? Because I've been on some. I had people on the podcast talk about their little dating apps and stuff. But when I downloaded it, I noticed it went to me people that were local to me. Now, is that the case that some people are going to run into, or is there a guarantee you're going to run into somebody in your state?
Well, again, it is all going to come down to word of mouth and people encouraging like-minded people to get on the app. Because you're not wrong. I mean, these apps. If you live in Des Moines, Iowa, for instance, um, it's gonna be harder to match with somebody who lives in Des Moines, Iowa. So again, I mean, the success of this is going to be determined by individuals encouraging their like-minded individual friends to get on the app. Because again, I mean, there's no cost to doing it. There's no monthly subscription. So once you're on, you're on. I mean, you may join tonight, and you find that 6 weeks from now, somebody down the street from you goes, "Oh, hey, okay, wow, this dude is on here. Let me hit him up." So again, it's not something that you need to monitor on a daily basis. It's not something that you need to visit every week. The key to it is to get on there and then tell your friends about it, and trust that in a couple of weeks, a couple of months, somebody's gonna see you on there and go, "Oh wow! I mean, this young lady looks interesting. This guy looks interesting. Let me send him a match request." So no, and that's what we're really trying to accomplish, is for people to understand that there is no cost to getting involved. So get involved. Help yourself. Do something to help yourself. If you're looking for a serious relationship, do something that doesn't cost you anything to help yourself, which is joining Married America.
Of course, of course. Now, you said on your previous interviews that Marrying America isn't just a dating site; it's actually a filter. Now, can you explain to me what you meant by saying it's a filter?
What we're doing is we are selecting for people who want, we are filtering for people who want serious long term relationships. Most of the dating apps you go on, if you match with somebody, you have to have a conversation. Are you looking for short term? Are you looking for long term? Are you looking for marriage? Are you looking for whatever? You have to have that conversation. Okay? With Married America, you go into our website knowing full well that the conversation you're going to be having with somebody is not if I'm looking for a long term, but Is it possible for us to do the things for each other to get to long term? In other words, it's understood that I'm looking for a serious, committed relationship. So that conversation is already had. It's just a matter now of are we going to do the things to try and make that happen? But that conversation is already had. So I mean that alleviates a lot of the initial pain points in terms of, geez, we need to have a conversation about what are we really looking for. No, that conversation is already baked into the cake. We met on Marrying America. That's what we're here for. Can we make it happen?
Of course, of course. Now, have you had to ban people from the site?
No.
Really? Wow. Because all the other dating sites, now I've heard stories on TikTok of how people have been banned from the site or have been kicked off the
You
site.
see, I think what has helped us is that since you can only send 5 match requests per month, you don't have the bandwidth, you don't have the volume. Okay, so when you can only send five, for people who would be so inclined, they're not attracted to that to Marrying America because again, if you can only send 5 match requests per month, if that's what you're all about, it doesn't give you the volume, it doesn't give you the scale that you need. You know what I mean? So if that's what you want to do, you go somewhere else to do it. Yeah. So I think that's what's helped us a lot is that since you're so limited by the number of match requests that you can send every month, you can't sit down on a Saturday night and send out 50 match requests. You know what I mean? And then rinse and repeat. On a Sunday morning, do the same thing all over again. No, you get to send 5 per month. So people who are inclined to to be engaged in less than ideal behavior, they go elsewhere to engage in that behavior.
Of course, of
For
course.
that reason. For that reason,
Hmm.
it's like rubbing up. Rubber bank, we don't have any money, right? I mean, and we don't have the currency. We don't have the currency that they deal with, which is scale, which is ability to hit up a lot of people, you know,
Of
en
course.
masse. We don't have that. So
Of course. Now, have you had any success stories of people come back and saying that, hey, I met my person and they done, and now we're getting married and we're set to get married and we've been in a
not yet,
relationship for a year?
not yet, not yet. But I mean, those days are coming. Not yet. But we're pushing in that direction. But no, no, we have not had any success stories that we could post to social media at this point because again, this is a fairly new endeavor. But if people get on there, and they're in a pool of like-minded people, these stories will come. You know what I mean? Because if you're around people who are like-minded, you can't help but meet with success. It's just a matter of being around like-minded people, and that's where we're looking to do is to build a community of people who legitimately want that long-term relationship and are willing to because the first order of business is you have to be dealing with somebody who wants the same thing that you want, no matter how much you like them or they like you. If they don't want the same thing, how much they like you isn't going to matter. So I mean, we are building a community of people who want the same thing, which is a long-term sustained relationship. That I believe is the most important pillar. You know what they say. I mean, people don't get married until they're ready. People don't get into long-term relationships until they're ready. Our website is designed for people who are ready. So it's just a matter now of them coming together on that site and making it.
Of course, of course. And and I would definitely strongly suggest to people to go ahead and get on the website because the founder over here has been married for 40 years. So maybe he knows a
Yes,
thing or two about being in relationships and
or three or
being
four.
married. Maybe he knows what
Exactly.
he's doing. So talk to me about what experiences from your marriage inspired what you decided to put on this website.
Well, I don't know if there any things in my marriage that necessarily inspired? I think the biggest thing was that long-term healthy relationships are indeed a good thing. I think that would be my biggest takeaway is that being engaged, involved in a healthy, long-term, sustained relationship is the best outcome that one could be looking to achieve. And since I looked around my particular environment and I recognized that there's a dearth, there's an absence of long-term sustained relationships. Um, you know, Myron America was really born from that. Is that there has got to be a way to get people who want it into a long-term sustained relationship. Because again, as I've progressed through the decades, I have come to realize that that is what people want more than anything else, is to be in a relationship with somebody that they love, that's healthy and is sustaining or has sustained. Um, you know, I think that more than anything else is what I've come to realize, is that ultimate. People want to be able to come home to somebody who they love and who they believe loves them, and it's a healthy environment, and they're happy to be there. That's what we're trying to be.
That's of course that's one thing we're trying to build, because that's the end goal. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants that
Absolutely,
person to come home and to and stuff. That's what, at the
absolutely,
end of the day, that's what we want. We don't want to be out here on social media complaining that the dating pool is trash. The dating pool is
exactly.
this, dating pool is that. Sometimes people you got to find your own lane, and the one way is to be on a website like this. So, what do you have in store for 2026? Is there like seminars or networking events, or are you going to continue to get on more podcasts to get the word out about
Yes,
this website?
yes. That's the plan. Is to continue, spreading the word, spreading the gospel as best as we can. And trusting that it resonates with enough people who are desiring, that sustained, healthy relationship. And yeah, I mean, our hope is that it catches fire, and people, decide that, hey, look, I mean, short-term hookups or the one-night stands. Okay, I've had my fair share of those. I want something more. So, I'm hoping that your viewers, your listeners, your audience, it resonates with them. And if they are in a long-term relationship, I'm sure they have family members, I'm sure they have friends who want that long-term relationship. And they say to them, look, there's absolutely no downside to signing up on this app, this website. That's not an app, it's a website. Because again, there's no monthly ongoing cost. It's free to join. It's free, to get access to 100% of the features. You get your first 3 credits free, and and see where it goes. I mean, so that's what we're hoping for in 2026. With Valentine's Day coming up, everybody looking for love. Hey, spend half an hour, put your profile together, put it out there. Let's see what happens.
Yes. Now, after the first 3 credits are free, how much does it cost to get another credit?
Well, if you buy 1 credit, it's gonna cost you $15. If you buy a 3 pack, it's gonna cost you $35. If you buy a 5 pack, then it's gonna cost you $25. So it just depends on how many you buy. So you have a 1 pack, a 3 pack, and a 5 pack.
Okay, that sounds doable. That definitely sounds doable. Not like some websites that be like $100 or $200 for the whole
No,
year for premium,
no,
and you get super swipe, and you get all these
no,
extra
no,
swipes. And you get the boost and stuff.
no. You just buy a credit or 5 credits, and the best part is those credits never expire.
Mm.
So I mean, 5 credits might last me a month. 5 credits might last you 6 months. It just depends on how you decide to engage, who you engage with. So I mean, your credits never expire, and you buy 5 credits for $25. and you may have those 5 credits for 3 months.
Mm.
I mean, or conversely, you could spend those 5 credits in a month, because you may have 15 women that decide to send you a match request, and you like all 15, which, I mean, in a month that'd be a lot, but I mean, you decide to like 5 of them, or match with 5 of them. So you'd spend your 5 credits. So you get to manage your spend, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you get to decide, you know, do I want my 5 credits to last me 5 months, or do I want it to last me 5 days? You get to decide.
Mm-hmm. Of course, of course. So once you've already picked your 5 matches, it automatically just shuts you off. And what happens now? What happens if someone else comes along after you done got your 5 matches? Or do they just have to wait till next month to match with you? Or how does that work?
No, 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 no. You can receive unlimited match requests.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't send more than 5. You can receive, so, you know, 300 women could decide to send you a match request. That's unlimited. Okay. But you could only send 5 match requests to 5 women.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you can only send out 5, but you can receive an unlimited amount of incoming match requests. So there is no limit to the amount of match requests that you can receive. What's limited is the number of match requests that you can send.
Of course, of
Okay.
course.
So that's the limitation, not the number of requests that you can receive. Because, I mean, a good looking guy like you could get 15 match requests tonight. You know what I mean? Yeah, you could get 15. You might, and then you'd have to decide, okay, do I like any of these 15 that I want to match with? Or, or you could decide, okay, man, I mean, I like 4 of them. You know what I mean? Let me match with 4 of them. But you could only send out 5 every 30 days. Every month you can only send 5, but you can receive an unlimited amount of match requests and accept an unlimited amount of match requests.
Got you. Lastly, why should single people sign up for marryingamerica.com?
Single people who are looking for an intentional relationship, a long term relationship, the number one reason why they should sign up is that there is no downside to doing so. Absolutely zero downside. No cost, no investment, no obligation, no nothing. So the number one reason is it's easy. The second reason is, if you're looking for that special person, this environment is created for people looking for their person. So if that's something that you have aspirations of finding, there is zero downside, because, again, there is no cost to doing so. It's easy to do so, and you will be meeting people who are like-minded, that they are ready for a long-term committed relationship. If that's what you're looking for, then come on over, tell your friends about it, and because, again, you know, there's no ongoing monthly obligation, there are no fees, there's none of this. Get your first 3 credits, and then you can take it from there.
Understood. Mr. Jeremy, I want to thank you for blessing the Liquor Talk with your presence. I want to thank our friends at PodMatch
Cheers.
for providing this guest to us. Everybody, go out there and tell my single people, get on this man website. Let's blow it up. Let's
And
do it,
tell
y'all.
friends.
But thank
Tell
you.
your friends.
Yes, tell a friend. Thank you, Mr. Jeremy. And thank you to all my listeners out there that's tuned in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts at. Until the next episode, cheers.